Hi, this is Gayle from BERNINA of Naperville, and welcome to our first lesson in our embroidery sampler program. Now, we have done this at our store. We're almost wrapping up with all of the lessons. We've been at it for almost a year, and it's been really popular, but I think it's time to introduce it to you guys out there that don't get to come to the store on a regular basis. So what am I talking about? It's our embroidery sampler. So this series of tutorials is designed to really take you from timid embroiderer to confident embroiderer. So basically what you see, some of the blocks that we're doing are behind me. They go from easy to more difficult as we go through all of the different steps. So we're going to start off with a pretty simple how to stitch out a dense design, how to add some eyelets to it, and how to do a little bit of quilting, to the last quilt block, which is like the Olympics of hooping, and everywhere in between. So you're going to learn a lot during this tutorial. So what is this? Is it free? Do I have to pay for this, Gayle? What's going on? So here's the deal. The videos are free. You can watch them for as long as you want, watch them again and again and again, and they're public on YouTube. Now, if you want to do the quilt just like we're doing it, then you'll want to be able to get the designs, the fabric, the thread kit, and all of that. And of course we have that too. So the designs are from a design collection called Rugs to Riches by Linda Lee, and these are from OESD. Now here's the catch. This is not the newest designs from OESD. I made my original quilt, which was done in greens and some oranges and things like that, almost 20 years ago, maybe even more than 20 years ago, if I really do the math. So anyway, so OESD has allowed us to use these designs, and they've made us some copies of the discs so you can build these designs and work along and make your own embroidery sampler block. So yay and thank you to them for that. So you'll definitely want to get that. Then you're also going to want to get the fabric and the thread kit if you want to make it like ours. If you don't want to make it like ours and you want to branch out and do your own colors, that is also perfectly fine. So it's broken down into top fabric kit, backing fabric kit, thread kit, and the embroidery designs. So now we're also going to premiere these videos about every other week, even though we call it a year-long experience because it was originally designed as a block of the month. So don't worry if a week has gone by and we premiere a new video and you're still stuck on another block. These are going to live forever. Don't worry. Just chill out. Finish your block, ask your questions in the comments of the video, and, work at your own pace, because that is the beauty of these videos living on YouTube, right? So you have to at least purchase the designs from us. If you purchase those, then you get the handout that's going to come to you every time we premiere and upload a video. Now, the handout isn't just a normal handout, it is an interactive handout, and I'm going to talk you through each month this handout in our presentation. But the handout is interactive, so if we're talking about hooping something specifically, there's a little video camera that you'll see. You'll click the link and that'll take you to that video. So I hope you enjoy this. It was a lot of fun to make and design. It's been a lot of fun to teach, and hopefully for you, it'll be a lot of fun to learn. So I'm going to start with the computer, and we're going to talk through this thing, and we're going to learn how to make block one. So welcome to Embroidery Sampler. Like I said, this is a pretty intense experience, but I think you can handle it because we're going to take it baby steps at a time. So what is this all about? Well, during this project, we will explore various hooping and embroidery design layouts. We're going to be working from the most basic techniques in this block that you're following along with today to more advanced placement, editing, and design splitting in block 12. And I'm going to demonstrate some time-saving tools and useful products to ensure that your wonderful wall hanging turns out just perfect. So the finished size is approximately 46 by 48 inches, but I don't want you to get stuck on that. This quilt is going to kind of take on the personality that you give it. So if it needs to be slightly different in size than that, it's completely okay. It's also designed as a quilt as you go, because what we're going to do is we're going to embroider our blocks, we're going to do our different sewing treatments to them, then we're going to quilt them. But there are specific instructions where we want to leave some play around time there when we ultimately sew them together. So there's going to be an opportunity to quilt this at the end as well. So don't get too worked up, but it's all about the process, right? So with this in mind, you're going to have an opportunity to practice some free motion quilting and other embellishments as we go along. So how do you get your stuff? Well, first it starts with watching our videos, of course, but then you're going to need to purchase the Bernina Embroidery Sampler class. So how you're going to get your stuff is you're going to purchase the Bernina Embroidery Software Sampler class. Now, you've probably stumbled upon it on our website, which is BERNINA of Naperville.com, or you might even see the link in this video. So right in the description of this video, we have a link to purchase this class. So what this is going to include are the Rugs to Riches design collection from Linda Lee for OESD. Now, here's a note. This is only available from Bernina of Naperville at this time. So if you want these designs, you got to get them from us. But once you purchase this design collection, we add you into a special email group where every time that we premiere a video for this, you are going to receive the handout and all of the additional instructions. So when we're premiering this new lesson on our Bernina of Naperville YouTube channel, you're going to receive the email containing a link to download your handout. The links with all of the videos and embroidery designs will be embedded within it. So there's going to be some little symbols I'm going to show you in just a moment. So the video links are time-stamped so that you will be taken just to the right spot in the video to explain the instruction. And I am providing you with embroidery designs each month just in case you need a rescue. You paid for these designs. I'm only helping you to avoid being flustered with a task. Otherwise, please try your best to make your own. And if you're doing this remotely, we ship if you need stabilizer and other physical supplies. So we have a schedule. We're going to meet Mondays, every other Monday from now through November 29th at 6 p.m. And we're going to premiere live at that time. And that there is where you're going to be able to chat with me during the premiere of the video if you have any questions. So over here on the left side of the screen, you'll see we have different icons. There's a movie icon, which is going to take you to watch a video. There's the download embroidery icon. That's for your rescue file. And then every once in a while, I'm going to have a document that I want you to download just to, help you out in some way with the instruction. So there are kits available. There's a thread kit. It's 8 spools of isocord thread and 1 spool of yen met. And the colorway reflects the quilt top and backing kits that we've selected here. If you are going out on your own with your own colorway, then you might not want to get our thread kit. You're going to want to pick out your own threads. And we carry every color of isocord thread at BERNINAofNaperville.com. So if you want to go that way, hey, you can still get those supplies from us as well. But don't forget, in the handout, you're going to be able to link directly to the thread kit supplies. There's also fabric top kit. This is designed to be subtle so that your beautiful embroideries will be the star of the show. And it includes 5 half-yard cuts. Now, you might need to purchase additional fabrics for oopsies and if you want to make a larger quilt. In addition, there's a backing fabric kit. So this is a quilt as you go. So with the back, it's going to be super cute and irregular, and we kind of coordinate certain fabrics with certain backings, and I give you those instructions every time we meet for a new block tutorial. This also is 5 half-yard cuts, but you may need to purchase additional fabrics, just like I mentioned, for oopsies, or if you want to make a larger quilt. So what do you need for block 1? Block 1 is a warm-up. It's really just learning to hoop and stitch out a design. So I used tearaway stabilizer, and I actually used hydro stick stabilizer. So that's what I'm going to be showing you in the tutorial. Some folks might prefer stable stick. Hydro stick is activated with water. So it's like a lick it and stick it kind of thing, whereas stable stick is peel and stick. You're also going to need a water erase pen or heat vanishing pen to mark the placements of your embroidery. We use the Bernina eyelet attachment this time and a free motion quilting foot or the Bernina stitch regulator with quilting gloves. You might also want a walking foot if you don't feel very excited about free motion quilting. I use a basting spray to hold my layers together, and that's mostly for quilting. 505 is kind of a standard, but we also like the KK2000 from Sulky, which cleans up with soap and water. When you do embroidery, you use the pretty decorative stitches all in the top, but you're going to use a bobbin fill in the bottom so that, as you change your colors and everything, you don't need to worry about having all those bobbin wound for all those different colors. I use a Schmetz top stitch size 80 needle, or I use an embroidery needle size 80. And if you're working with the Yenmet embroidery thread, you may want to pick up a metallic size 80 needle. Batting, this is a great opportunity to use up your scraps, but you want to make sure that all the batting that you use for this particular quilt is all the same loft and materials. Otherwise, it could be a little bit weird as it assembles, or particularly as it quilts and you wash it. Embroidery bobbin, most of the blocks can be done with your standard bobbin case. Now, we in this video series are using Bernina 5 series, Bernina 7 series, and Bernina 8 series machines, which means that those machines take the high tension bobbin cases. If you don't have one, don't worry, but mostly I use the high tension bobbin case, which is that yellow one, in the cases of doing really tiny little vine work and things like that. If you're using an older series of Bernina, like the Bernina Artista line with the rotary hook bobbin, you might want to make sure that you have the pigtail rotary hook, or that if you're using another embroidery machine like the Artistas with the 5.5 millimeter stitch capabilities with the CB hook, you're going to want to thread that finger on that CB bobbin. I also use clear monofilament or smoke monofilament thread for the free motion quilting this month. So one of the things that you want to be mindful of is USB design transfer. So you're going to get these designs on a CD. So that means you're going to have to put that CD into your computer and then transfer them to a USB stick that goes into your machine. So I have made a video. This is one of our earlier videos, so excuse the production of it, but the transfer video is pretty good, and it's just basically kind of explains to you that when you are putting designs on the USB stick from an art file, like a .art file, you're actually creating 3 designs that are, and those are called the .exp files. And it's an information file that kind of tells the machine what colors of thread charts and everything it's going to use. It has a little bitmap image to kind of show you when you look at the machine what the design looks like. And then, of course, the .exp file, which is the stitching instructions to the machine. But all 3 of those files are necessary to properly display on your Bernina machine. Another thing is, if you opt to resize any of the files, you're going to want to do this with the pure .art file. The .art files are able to be opened through a software that's totally free on the Bernina website. It's the ArtLink software. And when you enlarge and reduce a design that's an art file, it keeps the integrity of the stitch. So if you look up at these designs that are at the top of the screen, you're going to see the one on the left has all the pretty little patterns that have been stamped into it. Well, if you enlarge or reduce that file, that .exp file on your sewing machine, it's going to get lost. So it's going to look like the design on the right. So just keep that in mind, and that's why we always want to make sure that we have a copy of the original beautiful design that has all the information on it, which are the .art files. But let's go ahead and watch that tutorial. So the Bernina ArtLink software is a free download from Bernina.com. This software is going to allow you to do a few things to the designs, not a whole lot, but it'll allow you to mirror the design, make it larger, smaller, rotate it, but that's about it. But the main purpose of the software is actually to be able to get designs off of your computer and onto your embroidery system. So let me just give you a tour. So first of all, you want to be able to open a design. Now I'm working in a folder that has my floral flamingos. The floral flamingos are a pack of designs that are available from scissortailstitches.com. They're also available at BERNINA of Naperville.com. ArtLink software, just like any other Windows-based software, we have our file, edit, view, the design, things like that. And just to open a design, I could either go to file or I can hit this little open button or open icon. And now you can see here that I organize all of my embroidery designs very nicely, and there's floral flamingo. When you click on a design that's labeled .art, you can preview it right over there in the screen. You can also see that there are other designs in this collection, but this is the one that we are working with today. Now I've already got it open, so I'm just going to hit cancel. This is a sewing machine button, and this sewing machine button is the button that you're going to use to send it to your machine. So I'm plugging in my USB stick into my computer, and then I'm opening. I'm going to click on my sewing machine. And now I have my device selection menu that's come up. The device selection menu has a few choices for us. The first one that I'll circle here with my mouse is it is compressing our .art file that we opened up in ArtLink, and it is now going to send that design as an EXP to a USB stick. What this process is doing, it's not just creating a file that's labeled .exp, it's creating a file of the EXP. It's also creating a .bmp file, and that is to have your machine show what the design looks like when you preview it on the screen, and I'll show you what that looks like. And it also is creating a .ini file, which is information about the design. So the thread colors, the kind of thread chart it's using, all of that information all of the information for the design is loaded on 3 different files that you're not even seeing anything happen. It's happening backstage. All you need to be concerned about is putting that USB stick in your machine, making sure that you're putting that USB stick in your computer, making sure your computer recognizes the USB stick, and then you click on this file, and now your window shows up that says the Bernina Data Exchange folder that says the design Floral Flamingo Altered has been copied successfully to the folder. Now, if you have more than one USB stick in your computer, it will give you a prompt to ask you which one you want to put it on. So the one that I have in there now is D, but I'm actually going to slip another one in here so that you can see the difference. Here's another flamingo. Now I'm going to send this to the USB stick. And remember how we do that is really think about the sewing machine being, I'm ready to bring this over to my sewing machine, and now I'm going to select it. So I'm left clicking on that sewing machine. And now I have my choices again. Now we will talk about some of these other things, but right now we're going to do just what we did before. Now I have 2 USB sticks loaded in my computer, and so the software is confused. So it wants to know which USB stick I want to use. So I will then go to my little folder with the arrow popping out of it, and now this will allow me to choose my stick that's either D, that was the first one I put in, or F or E, which is the new one that I put on. So this is something that might help you if you ever have more than one data storage USB stick on your computer. All right, let's cut it out. I really encourage you to be creative with your fabric choices, but if you want it to look just like ours, you're going to use the Alice in Glass Sunprint 2020 Stitched in Shadow for the front and the Mystical Land Lunar for the back. And I cut 16 by 14 inch pieces of almost everything. That's the top, bottom, batting, stabilizer. Actually, your stabilizer, you're going to cut a little bit larger because when you hoop this in your hoop, your fabric is not going to fit with your hoop vertically placed in place. So you're going to probably want to cut your stabilizer a little bit larger. But then you're going to get your coordinating fabric of Alice in Glass Sun print. This is in a pink. That is actually what we're going to put behind the eyelets after they're made. So here's the embroidery design off of the CD. It's design number 20. It's the palmette number 1. And it's actually 5 thread colors, but 8 color changes. So you can see the original design is done in these beautiful oranges and reds, but we changed it a little bit to match the colors of the fabrics that we chose. And you don't need to make any software adjustments to this month's block, but I do recommend that you learn how to change the colors of your thread in your embroidery machine, and that's pretty easy. So we have the color chart here in this slide, but if we go on to some other ones, I'm going to show you how to make those changes. Now here is where we're going to get ready to stitch. We're going to hoop our fabric with that Hydro Stick stabilizer. And I used a Nifty Notion spray bottle. And let's watch the video so you can see how to do this and how to hoop it. Okay, how do you use Hydro Stick stabilizer? Well, it's pretty easy. I wanted to show you what I'm doing here. So this is the piece of material that we're going to stabilize. This is our 18 by 14 inch piece of fabric, and here is our Hydro Stick. Now I will admit I didn't cut this quite the same size as this, but they're 2 fairly large pieces. Now because this design is so dense, I'm actually using 2 pieces of the Hydro Stick tearaway, and we're going to leave that on there even after the design stitches because we're going to add our eyelets or other embellishments. Another thing that you're going to need is our Nifty Notions spray bottle. Now, this isn't just a normal spray bottle. This actually puts a nice fine mist on the material so that you don't need to like rub it down with a rag or do anything like that. It's just going to put enough water on there to make it adhere to our fabric. So I don't even know if you can see that little mist, but it is really, really fine. And now I'm turning this over, and I'm just not even drying it off a lot, but just a wee little bit. And now I'm gonna place that down onto our material. And now I'm gonna do the same with our other piece. And just, I don't know if you can see this, but the Hydro Stick kind of has a shiny feeling side and a rough feeling side. The shiny side is the side that has the water activated adhesive on it. Okay. And now this one, I'm just going to turn in this direction here, somewhat in the middle, just like that. So now I'm just going to give this a minute to just set up, and then I'm going to draw my placement lines. But on the back of our fabric is our 2 layers of the Hydro Stick stabilizer. I also used one of my favorite tools here. This is a heat vanishing pen, and this is in red, and it shows up on my gray material here. So what I did is I drew a vertical line representing the center of my material, and then I drew like a center spot for where I want my palmette to stitch out. Now, here's the thing. If you're just doing this to get started and just try embroidery, you don't have to worry too much about where you want to place this, but I'm just kind of giving you the tools so when you want to place it exactly, you'll know what to do. Now I'm bringing in our Bernina large oval hoop, and the hoop has 2 pieces. This is the bottom piece. The bottom piece is the piece that attaches to your machine, and the top piece is the piece that holds your template. And so when you put your template in, you want to make sure that you can read the word Bernina from left to right, and also the hoop has a little arrow on it, and that arrow should be seen and pointing to your belly or your chest, whatever you want to think of it as. And I'm going to place and these templates are designed for you to get the design in the hoop in close to the right spot. So I'm just going to line my hoop up just like that over my red line. One thing that you might want to do with your hoop is loosen the screw here so that you have a little bit of wiggle room space to fit this in with the 2 layers of fabric or stabilizer and fabric in there. So here's the hoop key-do and how it fits on that little screw, and it just lets you grab that and undo it a little bit easier. And it's even easier because sometimes when you're trying to grab under that fabric, it can be a little bit weird. So let's go ahead and hoop our material. So like I said, I have my large oval onto my fabric, and you want to not move that, but I'm going to move it out of the way here so you can see what I'm doing. So I've got this lined up down the center, and I'm pretty happy with that. Then I'm going to leave my hoop on this side and just kind of leave it in position while I grab my hoop to hold it down there in place. It is going to wiggle on you, so you just have to be mindful of that red line that I drew lining up with the center mark on the hoop. I wanted to show you up close how my little red mark is down the center of the inside. And then I'm going to take my placement template away because we don't want to sew through that. And then I also wanted to show you what it looks like on the hoop. Now I have the wee little bit of stabilizer bottom or top of the hoop showing in here. You don't want to have too much sticking down there because you can actually accidentally etch the stainless steel section of your sewing machine when you do that. So be careful not to push the top part of the hoop too far down in the hoop. All right, so now that your material's been marked and everything, we're ready to embroider. But before you embroider, you're going to thread your bobbin. With the bobbin thread, you're going to line up your colors in order. You're going to change the colors on your machine, and we're going to watch a video right now so that you can see how that's done. All right, let's have a look at how you can change the colors of an embroidery design right on your machine. I'm working in a program. It's the BERNINA 790 simulator. This is available as a free download at BERNINA.com, but of course you will be working on your machines. Now I'm showing you this screen, but if you're using a BERNINA 5, 7, or 8 series machine, I don't think you'll have any problem following along with how I'm doing this right now. When you pick a design and you pull in the design, you'll see that it has different colors, and you might not want red and orange and green for your design. So let's look over here. Right now we're in the editing screen, but if we go down here to our artist palette where it says 4, that means there's 4 colors in the design. And now as I clicked on it, you can see we have orange, red, green, and black. Well, I want to change each one of these individually to specific colors that I am going to load into my machine. So color number 1, I'm going to select this little shuffle, recycle looking symbol. And then I'm going to use this magnifying glass symbol to type in 3045, which is the cachet color I want for color number 1. And notice that it automatically defaulted to the isocord here. Well, that's great because I'm using isocord thread. So now I'm going to go back to my breadcrumb, and even though this is isocord, I don't want color number 1805. I want a different color. And I'm going to select 2600 for this one. Going back to my color palette, now I'm going to select that little shuffle button again, and this time I want to use the color 3344 in isocord. So I do 3344, select the color, and now and you can also see as I select them, they change over here. Then finally, I'm going to go down here to color number 4, And this is where I'm going to select a different kind of thread. And I'm looking for the Yenmet palette. It's in alphabetical order. And there we go. And now I'm just going to scroll ahead until I find AN-5. And right there it is. It's Violet Opalescent. I select it, and now I can go ahead and click my edit screen and see the changes that I made to my flower. And if you want to save this on your sewing machine for future embroidering, you can hit. And here is my design. Now you can see that this is a fairly large in conjunction with our large hoop, and it's also a fairly dense design. When we look at our screen, you can see here it gives us a stitch out time, it gives us the dimensions in millimeters, it tells us that it's 5 colors, which I've already picked out my 5 colors, and now the only thing I need to do is prepare to stitch. Preparing to stitch is easy. The first thing you want to do is press the little sewing machine needle and the little trail of dots there. And now it's telling me to remove a hoop. I don't have the hoop on there, so I'm going to go ahead and press that green check mark. Now, what you see happening is the arm that holds the embroidery hoop just moved and wiggled into place just right. So now I can go ahead and put my embroidery hoop on the machine. So I'm going to slip my hoop into place, and I'm going to take my 2 fingers and squeeze these buttons so they fit over that bracket. And now my hoop is on my machine. And now I'm going to press this button again, that little needle going into a few different dots. And now it's evaluated that I have my hoop on. Now, one thing that I failed to do, to tell you, and I did it on purpose, is I have a little X marked right there, and that's where I want the center of my design to be. So if you have already pressed this and it gets into position like this, don't worry, we can always go back to our edit crayon to get back to our editing screen. And what I want to do is pick my oval hoop, and I'm going to use my finger, touch and drag, and I want to move my needle to be in the center of the design. So you can see that where the needle was the start point of where it's going to embroider, and by touching those little crosshairs, it moves my needle to the center of the design. You can see that I want to start here, so I'm going to need to move my motif to where the round part of the foot is over on that X. So I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. So now I've X'd out of my hoop screen, and I'm back to my editing area where you see my palmette. It's time for me to take those crosshairs that you see right there on the screen and take those crosshairs, and I need to move them down so that the foot on my sewing machine is right over that little line that I made in the hoop. And to do that, I'm going to open my little I button and use this crosshair button that now engages my knobs so that I can move it in the hoop just right. So pay some attention over here to this is where our foot is, this is where it needs to be. And if you need some extra help, I'm just going to put my little snips right there at where I want to move it to. And I'm going to use my knob. So I'm going to start with my bottom knob that's going to move the motif this way. So that's what I'm going to do. You can see I'm getting closer there. And now I'm using the top knob to move it over just a little bit, and that's exactly where I want the center of my design to be. Now I want to show you how to thread with the multiple spool rack. So the first color that I'm going to stitch is this blue color. So I take it up and I get it behind this little thread guide right here, the one that is closest right here. Then there's a little metal piece that is a guide on my machine. I'm going to floss into that guide, and that's just right there on your sewing machine. And then you come back, thread it through the tension disc. Don't forget to raise your presser foot so that your tension disc's right here open. Then we're going to go down to the right and down the left of the thread take up, following the guides right above the needle. And then we're going to use our needle threader. Finally, it's time to get started. So let's press the ready to stitch button. Everything wiggles into the right spot. The needle works its way down here to the starting point. And word to all of you, if you have a 570 or a 590, the machine will automatically put its presser foot down for you. But on the 500 and the 535, it's up to you to put your foot down. And now the little green button is flashing and we just press and hold. It's going to take a few stitches. And now we're on our way. So now the machine's ready for our second color. So I'm just going to simply pull from the next color on the dock, rethread, start it, and continue this process until a very special thing I'm going to show you about. So stay tuned. It's an exciting time that I don't think you knew you were waiting for, but this is the moment you've been waiting for. So the thread that I'm holding here is Yen Met thread. Yen Met is a super sturdy metallic thread meant for machine embroidery. One of the benefits of it is it's 2 strands of wrapped thread that's twisted together. So it really prevents the breakage that you would get from a normal thread. Now, I do want to warn you, I am going to slow the speed down a little bit to get started with this thread, but this is going to be beautiful as our color number 3. You're going to want to change your needle for a metallic needle to sew our beautiful metallic thread. So I like to use this little guy that will take that screw out easily, because sometimes when these machines start sewing, the little screw feels like it gets tighter and tighter. So this Screw-Key-Doo for your 5 series machine works really well. And here's our metallic needle. One of the things about them, it's hard to see here for you got to trust me on this one, is that this needle has a larger eye that's coated to prevent friction, and it's made for metallic thread. One thing I want to do for sure when I get started is I want to slow the speed of my machine down a little bit. So I'm going to between half speed and full speed. And on the machine, when you start sewing, you'll also see that I had touched my jackrabbit. You don't want that on for embroidering with metallic thread. So make sure that that does not have a yellow ring around it. Another thing that I like to have on hand is little snips so I can cut my thread easily between color changes. Okay, look at that beautiful metallic thread that just stitched out there. Now that took a while because I had to reduce the speed of the machine, but I can promise you it's so gorgeous it's well worth it. But public service announcement, if you are doing embroidery for the very first time, save metallic thread for another adventure. So meanwhile, here I go. I am going to finish this up. It's got only about a few minutes left, so enjoy. Pull this off the machine and admire our work. Okay, now those of you that are beginning, you will want to know how to take this out of the hoop. It's super easy. If it's really in there tight, don't forget about your hoop key-do. You slide that in there and righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, everybody. And then you can pop this right out. Now, I am going to leave my stabilizer in here. All right, if that kind of sent you over the edge, don't forget that you can download your rescue file right here. And if you want a little bit more of a tutorial on getting started with the embroidery, we have 3 videos that are prepared for you. So you're going to want to make sure that you watch the Getting Started with Embroidery for your 5 series or your 7 series or your 8 series. And then finally, once that's all done, it's time to embellish. And we embellished using the BERNINA eyelet attachment. You can see all of those cute little... Let's have a good look at our finished, embellished embroidery design. Now, as you know, we did, as you know, we did the embroidery on this on our BERNINA 500 with the large hoop. We kept the stabilizer on, and then I marked our design as I went with these gradiating sized eyelets. So the first thing is I placed a dot in the center of where I wanted the large eyelets to be. Then once they were made, I used a ruler to measure about a ½ inch from each eyelet, and then made the second row with a smaller size eyelet. Then did the same thing and then came by and did the smallest size eyelet around the design to create this really pretty peacock-like design. Now, how did you do this? I'll have an eyelet feature on most of the machines. It's like a little circle that stitches out. You can certainly do that, but I guess you want to know about the BERNINA eyelet attachment. So this is the BERNINA eyelet attachment, and this can go on pretty much any BERNINA machine, even an old mechanical machine these fit on. So this attachment is a kit and it has a lot of different things in it. So let's look at what's inside the box. Different size hole punches that attach to this screwdriver-like piece. And look, it even uses the same little screws that go on behind your feet. So you would attach the hole puncher, and that's very sharp because that's like a little razor blade that's going to cut. So you get that. You get an awl, which also is going to have a sharp poking point. Now this is for the holes that you're going to make that are really small. You also get the little pieces that these are the size of the different eyelets that you can make here, and they go from small to large, and there's small, medium, they're just different sizes here, and I really don't know what the millimeters are. It's just I kind of pick one and go, hey, I like that. And then there are other size hole punches in here that fit onto this piece. Now, there's also pieces that go on your machine. This plate is the piece that holds your different inserts for the different size eyelets that you're gonna make. Now, this is a brand new eyelet kit, and these are how your little inserts come. Eventually, you will need to snip these off and liberate them from this wheel. But this goes onto your machine. There's a screw that comes with this kit. There's even a screwdriver that comes to screw it in. You also get a little cutting block to cut the eyelets with. And last but not least, there is a special eyelet foot, and it is number 92. Look at that little guy. Looks like Captain Hook. Let's take this over to the machine and do a sample. I have my number 92 foot on my machine, and I chose a large, medium, and small insert to make these size eyelets. So I'm going to start with the first size, and the first size is this large size here. And then I want to choose what size hole cutter I might need for that. Now, this goes right over this nicely, but it's a little too big because you want it to be tight. So I'm going to choose another one. And that one is just a teeny weeny bit smaller, and you can see here that I've used this quite a bit because I got a lot of stuff stuck in there from what I cut from my project. But anyway, so this is the size that I'm going to use for this size insert. This goes on the machine like this, and that goes into the hole just like that. And then there's a little nubbin, and that little nubbin goes into that hole right here in front of the needle plate. I've also dropped my feed dogs, and we're going to put the plate on just like that, and then we're going to put our screw in. And I have some isocord thread in the top and bobbin fill in the bobbin. So now the next thing I need to do is go over to my pre-marked material and show you how to cut a hole. All right, I loaded up the right insert here onto my screwdriver type holder, and you can see here I made a little star, and I'm going to start with a large design in the center, and then I'm going to build out with my medium circles, and then I'm going to build out with my tiny circles just to make like a little starburst. Now this is the block that you get with your eyelet attachment. You can see I've made quite a few eyelets with mine because there's a bunch of little holes in that. And I'm going to center this under here and this on top, and now I'm going to center my hole puncher right in the middle there of my intersection. And I'm just gonna, oop, I had one fall out. All right, so I'm just gonna hold that down and twist. And I want to go all the way through the material. You have to forgive me because I got a camera in my lap here. All right. My hole is made. And now I take it over to the machine and do magic. All right, so here we are, slipping this over just like so. And now all I want to do is just very carefully anchor this on. Now, I am using a zigzag stitch that has a 4mm stitch width programmed. This is important because as I go from larger to smaller, I narrow my zigzag stitch width. So to do the larger one, I'm using 4mm. And I'm going to lower my presser foot, and then I just go around. First of all, I go just a little roughly. Then, as I go around, I speed up and I start turning it a little bit more slowly. And then the idea is I'm going to go all the way around and getting my satin stitching nice and even. I might have to go around a few times, but now I'm pretty happy with that. Here's our eyelet, and now we're ready to add some more of a different size. So that's going to require me taking this off and adding a new insert. We're going to put the medium one on there, and then it's also going to require me changing this off for another size hole puncher. So I'm going to mark using my ruler and a 1/2 inch marking on my ruler all of my little pieces, a 1/2 inch from the edge of my satin stitching. And you know, this is just my made up distance. I just thought this might look good. And this is what you're going to do on your palmette as well. You just find a distance and sizes that you like. Don't let me stifle your creativity. You can see my little lines going around here. And then, after I finish marking, I'm going to cut my holes. I changed my hole cutter to a smaller hole cutter to accommodate this smaller eyelet that we're going to put around our big eyelet. And now I'm just going to cut all of these out all at the same time. And if you're watching this separate from our block of the month, I enhanced some embroidery designs with this eyelet feature, and it's really cool, but it also does amazing things all on its own. So that's what we're demonstrating right now. So I've also changed out the size to go for this medium size that matches the holes that I've cut. So I am just gonna fit any of these, because I'm gonna do all of these at the same time, over that little hole. And now that I am doing my smaller piece, I'm gonna reduce my zigzag width to 3 because I'm going down a little size and I don't want such giant zigzagging stitching around my smaller eyelets. So now I'm going to use my presser foot to lower my foot control, because I'm using the B570 and it has that automatic presser foot down feature that we love. So here we go. Okay, that's one down. So here is our beautiful little design, and now we just need to add one small one here. Now, our little small design that's going to go here is actually too small for one of our hole punches. So that's when the awl comes in handy. So now I'm going to use the awl and simply just poke it in right at that intersection and just go in about halfway through. And then that's the hole I create. And now I'm going to do that on each of these points. And then I've already installed the new eyelet maker piece on my machine, and then we'll get started. Okay, so this is our last round. This is our tiny one. So like I mentioned before, every time I go down a size for an eyelet, I also decrease my stitch width. So this time I am going to decrease my stitch width just a little bit to about 2.5. And now, once again, we just get started. just a little trim on some of our tails, and we have a beautiful eyelet accent piece. Now, of course, you can use my picture here as a guide for where to put your eyelets, but hey, this is your block. You can put your eyelets wherever you would like. And if you don't want to make eyelets, there's alternatives. You could use buttons, beads, glue-backed crystals, tiny embroidery design baubles. There are built-in eyelets on your machine or other decorative stitches. And then, of course, once all is said and done, you're going to want to do the quilting. And don't forget, your block was trimmed larger than the finished block is going to be. So use the heat vanishing pen to mark your cutting lines on the top fabric of your quilt. And don't cut these out until all of your blocks are made. But you might want to mark out the no quilting zone. And this is also in your handout. So just follow this as you get ready for this step. And now we're going to make a sandwich. This one is high fiber and low fat. And I used 505 to adhere my layers together. So I started with the backing wrong side up, then the batting. Then I put that contrast fabric right side up. That's that bright pink from the fabric kit if you purchase that. And then the embroidered fabric goes right side up. And then let's just go for it. So let's see our quilting example. All right, so the stitch regulator goes on the cone just like so. You slip the little guy over it, put it down, and then pull that little lever down just like that. Then on the back of the machine, there's the BSR receptacle, which is this guy right here. That's where we're going to plug the little plug. But it has to be down vertically like this to go in the entire way. Just like so. Then what happens is a magical thing. The screen changes to the Bernina stitch regulator screen. So today we're going to be doing the most simplest of things, and I'm going to keep in mode 1, and I'll show you what that does. And I'm going to do a straight stitch, and then I'm going to use the confidence building. I said that's called confidence building thread. This is smoke monofilament that I'm also going to wind on my bobbin, but I'm only going to wind just a little bit because we're going to do just a little bit of quilting. So if you've never wound monofilament thread on your bobbin, hey, this is just my tip. It's not much of a tip. I'm just winding it. Put it behind here. It goes around the bobbin tensioner. Then it goes around the bobbin like this. And I'm doing it a few more times than I would for regular thread. Then I'm going to cut and wind. And there it goes. You might want to try winding it a little bit slower. Have you ever used this tool on your machine? Which is this screen to slow your bobbin winding down? Well, winding monofilament thread on it is a pretty good application for it. All right, our bobbin has finished winding, and now I've remembered to keep my presser foot up, and I'm going to thread my needle. And monofilament thread, hey, the tricky thing about monofilament is I can't see it, but I just feel that it's there. So now I'm cutting and threading. I guess it's there. I can't see it. I got to just trust the process. All right, indeed, my needle did thread, and my goal for doing this quilting is to use mode 1, to use my foot control as a stop-start button, and to go around my motif, this little palmette, then go around the dark pieces inside, then these pieces inside, just pretty much everywhere I have that dark blue outlining. And that's what I'm gonna do. Then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna go around the little eyelet pieces. So let's get started. Now, if you've never used your Bernina stitch regulator foot before, this is a great opportunity to do so. And first of all, I'm going to put my needle in the down position and bring my needle up. This way I can pull my bobbin thread up from the bottom so I don't get a weird knot. And yes, this is true. you're not seeing that thread because I told you it's confidence building. All right, so I'm going to start by holding my threads, and then I'm going to put the pedal to the metal, and now my needle is just, I'm moving the fabric where my needle is. Now, when I got started, my needle never really stopped going up and down. It just, that's because I wanted it to kind of knot in place there. But now I'm just gonna go through, and hang on a second, I'm gonna get some gloves. I'll be right back. All right, I have my Regis grips here. I like these when I'm videoing because I can grabbity grab with this, and I still have skin to touch my iPhone. Yes, I do use an iPhone to film these for those of you techie curious people out there. Okay, now that I have a better grip, I'm gonna just press my foot control down again. And now, oh my gosh, this is like night and day moving this around here. Sometimes you have to take a little break and reposition your hands. Notice how I'm not doing a lot of rotating or spinning the material. Just going around my little palmette. Almost around the first time. All right. Now, just, you know, watch and enjoy this nice little jingle. Finally, I'm gonna go around my eyelets. Now, when I go around my eyelets, I'm going to not stop and start and cut. I'm gonna carry a jump stitch from here to here, and then I'll just trim them when I'm done. All right, that's all we're gonna do. So we got our piece quilted. We did the quilting on all of the darker outline material with that monofilament smoke color and around the eyelets. And I'm just gonna turn this over for you. And you can see a little bit of definition back there for the quilting. And I still need to trim my little jump stitches, but that's all we're gonna do. So now you're just going to put this aside and now wait for further instructions for next month. And next month is our embroidered patch applique. All right, you've made block 1. So now you're going to take these skills for next month's class where we will add embroidered patches, stump work, applique couching, and decorative stitching on the sewing machine. And don't forget, if you want support for working on your embroidery sampler, we have a Facebook group. So if you're on Facebook, all you have to do is look up Bernina Embroidery Sampler or simply click the link in your handout. And there are going to be people there. I'm there. Everybody's there that's taken this class already, and they are a wealth of support and knowledge to help you out. So, all right, so after you make this one's easy. It really is. It is easy. I promise. You're going to do this one. So the next lesson is learning how to do patches, doing some decorative stitching in the background, doing a little bit of free motion applique. Doing a little bit of free motion quilting. But the big thing is when you're making these patches is hooping it and adding the fringe so it doesn't look like a patch. So, are you up for this challenge? Yes, of course you are. All right, so if you want to see the rest of the tutorials and more tutorials that we do at Bernina of Naperville, check out our YouTube channel. It's easy. It's youtube.com/Bernina of Naperville, and there you can like, comment, and subscribe. I really hope that you stick with this, and I can't wait to see what you make, which is why it is important for you to post your progress on our Bernina of Naperville Sewing Alliance page or the Bernina of Naperville Embroidery Sampler page that you find in your handout. It's a Facebook group, and we'd love to have you join. So, thanks for watching. Bye.